Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 181, Dylan's Little Admirer. Ojerpon, let's leave it for now and come back later. Dylan's eyes flickered slightly as he looked at Pekarunt, then he smiled faintly and walked away. There was no need to rush. For outsiders, Kitakami held a certain novelty, with customs entirely different from other regions. There seemed to be a lot of these mask stalls around, Lily remarked curiously, picking up a yellow mask from a stall displaying various designs. That's because Kitakami's oldest tradition is the Festival of Masks. It's a celebration where everyone, adults and children alike, can join in and have a great time, Dylan explained warmly, examining a black mask from the stall. You must be visitors, right? You seem to know a lot about our customs, the middle-aged stall owner said, surprised by Dylan's knowledge. I've always been interested in the traditions of different regions, so I know a thing or two, Dylan replied with a polite smile. Ha ha. You're absolutely right. The Festival of Masks has been passed down in Kitakami for generations. During the festival, both locals and visitors can wear masks and enjoy themselves, the man explained. But there's more to it than that. Masks hold a unique significance for the people of Kitakami. Our region has been renowned for its exquisitely crafted masks for centuries, and their fame even reached overseas long ago. The stall owner's voice brimmed with pride. Dylan raised an eyebrow, a faint, sarcastic smile tugging at his lips. So, would you like to buy 3 masks? The Festival of Masks is coming up soon, and you can join in wearing them. My masks are some of the best around here, the man suggested, noticing Eileen and Lily's interest. Seeing their enthusiasm, Dylan purchased 3 masks, and the trio continued their exploration. Brother, your expression just now seemed a bit off. Was there something wrong with what that man said? Lily asked curiously, tilting her head as the white mask hung loosely on her head. She had noticed Dylan's subtle reaction when the man claimed Kitakami's masks had been famous overseas for centuries. Having spent so much time together, Lily's attentiveness allowed her to pick up on these details. It wasn't wrong, per se. It just reminded me of a rather amusing story, Dylan chuckled softly. Tell us, Dylan. Eileen urged, intrigued. This story is a bit long. Let me think about where to begin, Dylan said, tapping the black mask in his hand as he organized his thoughts. Long ago, in a distant village, there lived an elderly couple who had no children. They took in a timid Pokemon, Pekarunt, and loved it as their own child, Dylan began. Pekarunt? Eileen and Lily exchanged puzzled glances. They had never heard of this Pokemon before. To gain even more affection, Pekarunt used the poison on its body to create delicious, sticky chain mochi, which it offered to the elderly couple. The couple couldn't resist the taste and quickly became enthralled by Pekarunt, Dylan continued. What? Lily's wide-eyed shock made her expression adorably animated. But the chain mochi had a side effect, it amplified the desires of those who ate it. The couple became insatiably greedy, demanding more and more from Pekarunt, Dylan explained. Pekarunt, eager for their love, complied with their every request. It even commanded the Pokemon Okadoji to fetch luxurious clothes and mythical peaches for the couple. As their desires were fulfilled, their love for Pekarunt only deepened, Dylan recounted slowly. This is so twisted. Both Pekarunt and the elderly couple are completely out of line. Lily exclaimed. Exactly. A relationship built on unchecked desires is doomed to collapse, Dylan agreed. One day, the couple heard rumors about exquisitely beautiful masks said to exist in Kitakami. They demanded Pekarunt bring them these masks. Pekarunt, eager to please, set off for Kitakami. To travel, it needed companions. Pekarunt brought Okadoji, enchanted by the chain mochi, along for the journey. Along the way,
It also recruited 2 other Pokemon, Munkidori, said to foresee glimpses of the future, and Pheasantipede, whose pheromones could entrance others. Finally, the masks.
Eileen and Lily leaned in, captivated, as the story reached its most intriguing part.
Meanwhile, before Pekarunt's arrival, a man from a foreign land came to Kitakami with a peculiar Pokemon, Ogerpon.
Because their appearances and customs differed greatly, the locals shunned them. A kind mask craftsman, moved by their plight, carved 4 masks for them and decorated them with crystal fragments to hide their faces. With the masks, the man and Ogerpon were finally accepted by the villagers. Their beautiful, intricate masks soon became famous, even overseas.
So, those were the masks the elderly couple wanted.
Eileen and Lily realized what was coming.
Pekarunt must have come to steal these masks.
During the Festival of Masks, Pekarunt spotted the man wearing the verdant mask and Ogerpon with the teal mask.
Confirming the rumors, it began planning to take them.
On a full moon night, Okadoji and Pheasantipede sneaked into the caves to steal the masks.
However, the man returned and confronted them.
Okadoji and Pheasantipede had no choice but to fight him, leaving the man injured and sprawled on the ground. They fled with 3 masks, leaving behind the teal mask the man had desperately protected.
This is awful.
Lily bit her lip in frustration.
It was heartbreaking to see someone's happiness destroyed by greed.
The story's climax is yet to come, Dylan smiled faintly.
Pekarunt was overjoyed with the masks, certain the couple would adore it even more. But an enraged Ogerpon, wearing the teal mask, stormed into their midst. In its fury, Ogerpon defeated Okadoji, Pheasantipede, and Munkidori one by one. Without their protection, Pekarunt was gravely injured and rolled into obscurity.
Grieving, Ogerpon returned to the caves alone.
Hearing this, Lily let out a relieved sigh.
At least Ogerpon and the man hadn't lost everything.
Ogerpon is incredible, Lily exclaimed in admiration.
But the fight had attracted the attention of many villagers.
Unaware of the truth, they only saw Ogerpon's furious, fearsome form and were terrified, Dylan said, shaking his head.
They mistakenly believed Okadoji, Munkidori, and Pheasantipede had protected them from a demon. Thus, they honored them as heroes and gave them a grand burial.
What?
Lily gasped, her expression a mix of shock and indignation. Upon hearing this, Eileen and Lily were both stunned.
They treated the robbers as heroes? And even gave them a grand burial? Eileen was shocked. How could there be such ignorant people? The truly innocent ones were the man and Ogerpon all along.
There's more, Dylan continued. Not only did they give them a grand burial, but they even erected statues of them. Suddenly, a helpless female voice reached the 3 of them.
Dylan turned around, and 3 figures came into view, one of whom looked quite familiar. Dylan, it really is you. A girl in a pink long coat, Lacey, brightened upon seeing him and quickly ran over, full of excitement. Miss Lacey, what are you doing here? Dylan was also surprised to see Lacey.
Well, Carmine and Kieran were going back home to visit their family, so I came with them to visit Kitakami, Lacey explained.
Lily, it's been a while. Lacey flashed a sweet smile and waved at Lily. Miss Lacey, it's been so long.
Though it hadn't been that long, barely a month. Lily looked at Lacey curiously, but it felt like a lot of time had passed since their last trip to Unova. I heard from my father that before you left Unova, Dylan captured the leader of Team Plasma.
Truly, Dylan, you're so amazing.
Lacey was bubbling with excitement, her big beautiful eyes sparkling with admiration, looking like a total fangirl. Behind Lacey, her friends Carmine and Kieran exchanged somewhat awkward glances. In Blueberry Academy, Lacey was usually quite serious, and she was one of the Elite 4 of the Academy's league. The students all respected her.
But Kieran cast a sideways glance at Dylan, his eyes full of curiosity, yet there was a hint of timidity.
It was just a small favor, and Team Plasma came looking for me themselves, Dylan smiled humbly.
By the way, are these your juniors?
Seeing Lacey's excitement about their reunion and forgetting about Carmine and Kieran, Dylan asked her.
Oh sorry, I completely forgot about Carmine and Kieran.
Lacey turned back with a surprised expression, apologizing.
"It's all right, Miss Lacey." "Who's this?" Carmine asked, looking at Dylan curiously. She could probably understand Lacey's excitement.
Based on the way Lacey was acting, it was clear that this handsome man was likely Lacey's idol.
"This is Mr. Dylan, the gym leader of Rota Town in the Kanto region. He's an extremely strong and excellent gym leader. He's my idol."
Lacey grinned brightly, introducing him with a glowing expression, showing no hesitation in admitting her admiration for Dylan. Since that gym battle, she had become a huge fan of his. She even still wore the Rota badge on her wrist, caring for it lovingly every day.
"Dylan, these are my fellow students, Carmine and Karen. They're from Kitakami. I came here to visit Kitakami with them." Lacey introduced Carmine and Karen to Dylan.
"Hello."
Dylan smiled warmly at the two and gave a special glance to the thin, white-clad young man.
Karen's face was quite handsome, but his peculiar hairstyle, two black bangs crossing down to his nose, seriously hurt his looks.
Dylan raised an eyebrow at the seemingly neat Karen.
This guy didn't seem as harmless as he appeared. Compared to Carmine, Karen's talent as a trainer far exceeded that of his sister. After deciding to get stronger in the original story, Karen's strength began to soar rapidly.
He even became a champion-level trainer. And
this was the same guy who captured the legendary Pokemon Terrapagos with a Master Ball in Scarlet/Violet.
Well, though things didn't go so well after that.
The Master Ball broke when Terrapagos went out of control.
Chapter 182, Blood Moon. A gym leader from Kanto?
Carmine found it intriguing. She had heard of the Kanto region before. It was said to be where the headquarters of the Pokemon League was located. However, as a student at Blueberry Academy, she hadn't had the chance to challenge any gyms yet. But since gym leader Dylan was someone Lacey admired so much, he must be incredibly powerful. "Nice to meet you, gym leader Dylan," Carmine said gracefully, her demeanor reflecting her mature personality.
"Hello, gym leader Dylan," Karen greeted shyly but politely.
Though he was a bit reserved, he was not socially awkward.
"Just now, we overheard you talking about the legend of Ogerpon, didn't we?" Carmine asked curiously.
Though she hadn't caught the full story, it was clear that Dylan was knowledgeable about Ogerpon's history. This intrigued her greatly.
Even among the locals of Kitakami, few knew the true story of Ogerpon.
"That's correct.
Miss Carmine, are you familiar with it as well?"
"Actually, Karen and I are descendants of the craftsman who carved masks for Ogerpon and its former owner. So we know the truth," Carmine explained. "After the incident with Ogerpon, our ancestor tried to reveal the true story to the villagers. But instead of listening, they labeled him a heretic and persecuted him. To protect his descendants, he recorded the truth and passed it down through the family." Carmine's voice carried a hint of anger as she spoke. When she first learned of this, she had wanted to confront the villagers about it, but her grandparents stopped her.
"That's so cruel,"
Lily murmured, pressing her lips together. It was heartbreaking that the truth was not only ignored but those who shared it were harmed. "Such is the folly of ignorance," Dylan commented simply. "People often believe only what they see and form their own conclusions, arrogantly thinking they've grasped the truth without considering the full story. It's a pitiful sort of arrogance," he added calmly, clearly accustomed to such scenarios.
"To what do we owe the pleasure of your visit to Kitakami, gym leader Dylan?"
Lacey asked, tactfully steering the conversation away from its heavy tone. "We're here for a bit of relaxation. Also, I have a particular fondness for Ogerpon. If I could capture it, it would be a lucky encounter," Dylan replied.
"Finding Ogerpon is no easy feat, gym leader Dylan," Carmine remarked with a raised brow.
"Karen and I have lived here since childhood, but we've never seen it ourselves. Besides, Karen and I are also hoping to capture Ogerpon," she added with a smile.
"Well, it seems we're rivals then, Miss Carmine and Mr. Karen," Dylan replied good-naturedly.
"Catching a Pokemon depends on fate. Let's see who has the stronger bond with Ogerpon."
"Of course. We'll compete fairly," Carmine responded, her eyes sparkling with excitement.
Although she wasn't overly attached to the idea of capturing Ogerpon, she knew her brother Kieran was.
What do you think, Kieran? Yes, I'll definitely earn Ogerpon's recognition, Kieran declared, his shy demeanor giving way to determination.
He had always admired Ogerpon, especially its strength in defeating other Pokémon.
As a rival, you'll need more confidence, Mr. Kieran. Or is it that you don't believe in yourself? Dylan teased with a light laugh. I'll definitely gain Ogerpon's approval,
Kieran shouted, his face turning red under the gaze of Lacey, Lily, and the others.
Great spirit.
I look forward to seeing your performance, Dylan encouraged with a smile.
Yes,
Kieran replied eagerly, feeling both encouraged and overwhelmed. A man should be confident and stand tall. You're growing up, don't always hide behind your sister, Dylan said, handing Kieran a hair tie.
Start by tying your hair. From today, begin transforming yourself.
Oh, okay, Kieran stammered, surprised but touched.
Looking at Dylan's sunny smile, he was momentarily dazed. Regaining his composure, Kieran tied back his hair, his demeanor immediately changing. Not bad.
You actually look quite handsome, Kieran, Carmine said, propping her chin on her hand as she studied him with approval.
Really?
Kieran touched his face, a little embarrassed. A real man stands proud and faces life with confidence, Dylan said, patting Kieran's shoulder.
Yes, I understand now, Gym Leader Dylan, Kieran replied gratefully. Excellent.
Keep up the good work, Dylan encouraged before bidding farewell to Lacey and the others. Despite Lacey's insistence on treating them to a meal, Dylan politely declined, as he had plans to visit Area Zero in Paldea next.
Lacey, is Gym Leader Dylan really that strong? Kieran asked suddenly, now looking more composed with his tied-back hair.
Very strong, Lacey affirmed.
I'd say even Champion Alder wouldn't stand a chance against him. Stronger than the champion of Unova?
Carmine and Kieran exchanged astonished glances.
It seems Mr. Dylan has high expectations for you, Kieran. You have to work hard, okay? If you get stronger, you might even challenge Mr. Dylan someday. Who knows? You might earn his gym badge. Lacey smiled gently. Is Gym Leader Dylan's badge hard to obtain?
Carmine asked, sounding surprised.
It's extremely difficult. The last time I challenged Gym Leader Dylan with all my strength, well, to be honest, I was completely defeated. I couldn't even fight back.
Lacey raised a hand and brushed back her hair, looking a little embarrassed.
Even you, Senior Lacey. Kieran was shocked.
In his eyes, Lacey was already an incredibly strong trainer.
But even she was utterly defeated?
However, due to some special circumstances, Gym Leader Dylan still acknowledged my determination, so he gave me a Rhoda badge.
Look, isn't it beautiful?
Soon, Lacey's face blossomed into a radiant smile as she gracefully raised her wrist to show off the exquisitely designed Poison Rhoda badge.
So pretty. I want one too.
Carmine's eyes lit up, especially drawn to the purple gemstone embedded in the badge. It was stunning.
Kieran's gaze burned with admiration as he stared at the intricate Rhoda badge. This was Gym Leader Dylan's badge. Mine is the Poison Rhoda badge.
My case was a bit special. Under normal circumstances, you need Gym Leader Dylan's recognition while using a Poison-type team to earn this badge. Let me tell you a secret, so far, only 2 of these newly designed Rhoda badges have been given out.
Mine is one of them.
Lacey proudly tilted her head, her expression adorably smug.
Impressive. Kieran was thrilled. I'm going to challenge Gym Leader Dylan. I'm going to earn the Rhoda badge too. Carmine and Kieran spoke in unison. As siblings, their shared determination was unmistakable. Well, good luck to both of you. I hope you don't end up pulling the Golden Legend like I did.
Lacey, ever the kind senior, encouraged them.
What's the Golden Legend? Kieran asked, clearly puzzled. How do I put this? It's kind of like...
Lacey's expression turned quirky as she rested her chin on her hand, pondering for a moment.
A fluke. Meanwhile,
after strolling around for a while longer, Dylan and his group boarded Reshiram, heading to the northeastern part of Kitakami.
the Eternal Forest, one of Kitakami's natural landmarks, was their destination. Dylan had come here specifically to search for a certain Pokemon. Finally found it.
After circling the forest from above, Dylan pinpointed the Pokemon's location and signaled Reshiram to descend.
Roar!
A thunderous roar shook the air. A massive, muscular gray-brown bear let out an intimidating growl, exuding an overwhelming aura of savagery.
What kind of Pokemon is that?
Eileen stared in astonishment at the fearsome bear, pulling out her Pokédex, which showed no data on it. The creature resembled an enormous bear. The left side of its head and the upper part of its neck appeared to be covered in dried peat, and it had razor-sharp claws. A blood-red crescent moon pattern adorned its forehead, while its left eye, an eerie gray, gave it a chilling presence.
Ursaluna Blood Moon. That's its name. It's not currently in the Pokédex database.
Check the Rotom Dex's description, Dylan said with a grin, his eyes fixed on the ferocious Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Deep Ursaluna, Blood Moon form, ground/normal type, Peat Pokemon. Ability, Keen Eye. Moves:
Blood Moon, Hammer Arm, Moonblast, Earth Power, Snore, Rest, Headlong Rush, Slash. Description: a unique form of Ursaluna that protects its body with iron-hard peat and possesses a left eye capable of piercing through darkness.
Blood Moon. It looks so strong. Lily gazed in awe at the wild Blood Moon Ursaluna. Ursaluna? I've never heard of it either. Ursaluna is the evolution of Ursaring.
However, Ursaluna is almost unheard of in modern times because it was a specific evolution of Ursaring in ancient Sinnoh's Hisui region.
Dylan explained further, this particular Blood Moon Ursaluna is unique.
It crossed the ocean long ago and adapted to the environment here, leading to its current form.
Dylan studied the Blood Moon Ursaluna with keen interest, clearly satisfied. This was a one-of-a-kind special Pokemon. Chapter 183, A Lonely Widow Afraid of Isolation. You're strong. How about coming with me to explore the outside world?
Staying here would waste your strength, Dylan said as he stepped forward, taking out a Pokeball and addressing the Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Roar!
The Ursaluna responded with a fierce roar, showcasing its irritable temper. It seems I'll have to subdue you first, Dylan remarked, unsurprised, as he flipped the Pokeball in his hand.
Meowscarada, prepare for battle. Meow! A soft, magnetic cry echoed as Meowscarada rose gracefully. Its gem-like eyes shone with arrogance as it stared at the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Roar!
The Ursaluna let out another violent roar, the crimson full moon pattern on its forehead glowing with an ominous red light.
Blood Moon, a signature move exclusive to the Blood Moon Ursaluna, unleashed a powerful normal-type attack.
Its drawback, however, was the inability to use it consecutively. As the Ursaluna roared, a massive red beam erupted towards Meowscarada with overwhelming force.
Feint attack. Dylan smirked slightly. Meowscarada's eyes gleamed with black light as it vanished from its spot.
In an instant, its lithe, green figure appeared behind the Ursaluna, striking its back with sharp black claws.
Feint attack. A ripping sound followed.
The Ursaluna roared in pain and immediately retaliated, summoning earthen energy around itself.
Earth Power, a ground-type move. Energy Ball.
Meowscarada lightly tapped the ground, retreating nimbly as a green energy sphere formed between its paws.
Boom!
The Earth Power attack erupted but hit only empty air. The energy ball flew directly at the enraged Ursaluna, exploding upon impact. As a grass-type move, it dealt significant damage to the ground/normal-type Ursaluna. The searing pain sent the Ursaluna into a frenzy, roaring madly as the red energy in its forehead crescent intensified once more. Another Blood Moon attack was imminent. Such a bad temper, but trainable, Dylan muttered thoughtfully. Though the Ursaluna's power was undeniable, its volatile nature posed a challenge. Still, as long as it obeyed commands in battle, its temperament could be addressed over time. Meowscarada, dodge and use Frenzy Plant. Meow! The Blood Moon beam surged forth once more, but Meowscarada gracefully darted across the ground, avoiding the attack effortlessly.
Boom! Boom! Boom!
The Ursaluna's blood moon attack blasted furiously, leaving destruction in its wake. Despite its power, it failed to keep up with Meowscarada's agility, and the move soon exhausted itself.
Meowscarada slammed its paws onto the ground, causing the earth to quake violently.
Thick roots burst out from beneath, thrashing wildly in a spectacular display. Frenzy Plant, a grass-type ultimate move, unleashed a relentless barrage of strikes upon the Ursaluna, knocking its massive body to the ground.
When the assault ended, the Ursaluna lay unconscious, unable to continue fighting.
This outcome was inevitable. Dylan's Meowscarada had the type advantage, and the overwhelming Frenzy Plant sealed the victory.
Ultra Ball, go! Dylan threw an Ultra Ball at the fainted Ursaluna.
The ball absorbed it in a flash of red light.
Beep! 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 Click!
The Ultra Ball stopped shaking, confirming the successful capture of the Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Well done, Meowscarada! Meow! Dylan retrieved the ball, showering Meowscarada with praise.
Meowscarada's grin turned mischievous as it crossed its arms, proudly lifting its head in triumph.
This Ursaluna seems incredibly strong, brother.
Its destructive power is astonishing, Lily remarked, glancing at the devastated battlefield left by the Blood Moon attack. She knew how powerful her brother's Meowscarada was, yet even it had to rely on Frenzy Plant to secure victory, a testament to the Ursaluna's strength.
Well, this Ursaluna is practically an antique.
Plus, the Ursaluna line is naturally very powerful, Dylan explained with a smile. He added that this Blood Moon Ursaluna had traveled across oceans from ancient Hisui to Kitakami, where it had adapted and thrived.
Its high level was a given.
Although wild Pokemon at champion level were rare, they weren't unheard of.
This Ursaluna was one such exception. Come out, Ursaluna! Dylan released the Blood Moon Ursaluna from the Ultra Ball.
The Pokemon appeared before him, its aura weakened from its earlier defeat.
You're injured, so don't move for now. What do you say? Will you accept me as your trainer? Dylan asked gently, a green light emanating from his hand to heal the Ursaluna's wounds while fostering trust. The Ursaluna's fierce eyes locked onto Dylan.
After a moment of hesitation, it let out a low growl, signaling its acceptance.
Good. Rest in your Pokeball for now.
When we return to town, I'll take you to the Pokemon Center for a full checkup.
Living in the wild for so many years, who knows what hidden injuries or ailments you might have? Dylan reassured the Ursaluna with a warm tone before recalling it into the ball.
He then turned to Meowscarada and Reshiram, signaling the group to continue their journey. They spent the day exploring Kitakami's famous northern landscapes before returning to Kitakami at dusk. That evening, Dylan, Eileen, and Lily enjoyed a leisurely stroll through Kitakami's beautifully decorated streets, basking in the vibrant night atmosphere.
Brother, look at this kimono. Isn't it beautiful?
Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she admired a display in a nearby shop.
Brother, look at this kimono. Isn't it beautiful?
Outside a kimono shop, Dylan was pondering how to find the adorable Ogerpon, when Lily's voice came from behind. Dylan turned around to see Lily standing gracefully, her long, golden hair cascading like a waterfall. She was dressed in a pink kimono adorned with cherry blossoms, her slender waist tied with a white sash. The girl seemed a bit shy, her hands clasped behind her back, her fair face tinged with a faint blush, eyes full of expectation. It's beautiful, no surprise, you're my precious little sister.
Dylan smiled warmly, giving a thumbs up to the girl in her kimono.
Hee, this is my first time trying on a kimono, Lily said, her radiant smile brightening her expression as she glanced down at the kimono. In the tropical Alola region, kimono culture didn't exist, so this truly was her first experience wearing one. In fact, Lily had been intrigued by the idea since meeting Eileen. Girls always have a penchant for beauty, and Eileen's dignified and elegant appearance inspired Lily to give it a try.
It suits you.
If you like it, buy it, Dylan said with a smile. Though it's not practical for the wild, it's perfect for town or home.
All right. If you find more you like, pick a few. It'll be a feast for my eyes. Ugh! Brother, what do you mean by a feast for your eyes?
Her face turned red again, but with a pleased expression, she continued browsing the other beautiful kimonos.
Lily isn't done yet?
Eileen approached from a distance, carrying a shopping bag in her hand. She had just gone to buy some drinks.
She seems to really like kimonos. Aren't you going to try one? Dylan asked with a chuckle. I'm not into kimonos. Here, want some fruit tea?
Eileen shook her head. She preferred elegant dresses.
Sure.
I'll check over there, Dylan replied, noticing something as his eyes lit up. Taking a cup of fruit tea, he headed toward a tree not far away. Eileen tilted her head curiously.
Why are you hiding here all alone?
Dylan's gentle voice reached the little creature that was curiously observing the crowd from afar.
Okay?
The green little Pokemon froze, turning its head to see Dylan smiling warmly at it. Startled, it quickly hid behind the tree, peeking out cautiously with half its face.
Am I that scary?
Amused, Dylan crouched down, observing the timid little creature as his viridian force subtly emanated. The natural, sweet energy calmed Ogerpon's nerves, its curiosity piqued as it tilted its head.
Okay. Don't worry, I'm not here to harm you. I'm Dylan. What's your name?
Okay.
The little Pokemon chirped more cheerfully, curious as to why this human could understand it. Ogerpon? What a cute name. Were you watching them play? Why not join them?
Dylan glanced at a group of children playing nearby.
Okay. Ogerpon's tone turned somber. Do they dislike you? I see. How about I play with you instead? Dylan's warm and sunny smile left Ogerpon momentarily stunned. Okay? The little Pokemon hesitated, torn between its longing to approach Dylan and its lingering fear.
It was lonely, desperately yearning for a friend, for someone to play with. But past experiences had left scars. To the villagers, it was a terrifying ghost, often driven away in panic whenever it appeared. This rejection had left a psychological shadow, and whenever it faced the villagers' angry glares, Ogerpon would tremble in fear.
And yet, it never once sought revenge.
Though the villagers were like mere grains of sand before its strength, Ogerpon never wished them harm. Despite the fear, insults, and even stones hurled at it, it always refrained from retaliation. Instead, longing for connection, it donned a mask time and again, sneaking into the town's corners to watch the humans, envious of their interactions. Such was Ogerpon, a lonely, timid little spirit.
I'm serious. Can I be your friend?
Recalling the in-game Ogerpon trembling in fear before the villagers, Dylan smiled gently and extended his hand toward it.
Okay.
Slowly, Ogerpon inched forward, its cautious movements stirring Dylan's emotions.
Centuries of solitude, how much suffering had this little one endured? Finally, Ogerpon stood before Dylan. From now on, I'll call you Oge.
You're just too cute, Dylan said with a smile.
Oge? Chapter 184, Who's to blame? Dylan, who's this little one?
Eileen's curious voice chimed as she noticed Dylan returning with a Pokemon that resembled a small child.
Spotting Eileen, the timid Ogerpon instinctively hid behind Dylan, peeking out shyly from behind its verdant mask. This is Ogerpon.
I'm showing it around, Dylan explained with a smile, gently patting Ogerpon's head.
So, this is Ogerpon?
Eileen froze for a moment, her gaze softening as she took in the sight of the bashful Pokemon.
Having heard Dylan recount Ogerpon's tale, Eileen already had a strong fondness for it.
This little one's been through centuries of solitude, so it's a bit afraid of people. But I think it'll get better with time, Dylan said softly. Ever since its human companion passed away, Ogerpon had been living alone in this place. Tragically, the ignorant villagers, fearful of the terrifying ghost, had driven it away, leading to its conflicted feelings, longing for human connection yet fearing rejection.
Hello, Ogerpon.
I'm Eileen, Eileen said gently, crouching slightly to greet Ogerpon with the softest tone she could muster. Ogerpon hesitated, unsure whether to respond.
No need to be afraid. Eileen likes you very much too, Dylan reassured. Okay. Ogerpon's large eyes squinted with delight as it let out a cheerful chirp.
Dylan's innate Viridian force made him naturally approachable to Pokemon, but beyond that, Ogerpon could sense the genuine kindness emanating from him.
You're so cute! Eileen exclaimed, charmed by Ogerpon's lively cry. Unfortunately, its verdant mask hid its face from view.
Ogerpon's humanoid form featured 2 black legs, a green torso, plant-like arms, and a green leaf sprouting from its head. Its face was obscured by the menacing verdant mask adorned with a sparkling crystal, adding an air of mystery. Before long, Lily emerged, tucking her newly purchased kimonos into her bag.
Big brother, Eileen, have you been waiting long? Oh. What Pokemon is this?
Her eyes lit up with curiosity as she noticed Ogerpon, which was equally intrigued by her.
Oh gay!
Ogerpon chirped, this time not hiding behind Dylan.
This is Ogerpon.
We just met, and we hit it off, Dylan explained with a smile.
Wow, Ogerpon, huh? Hello, Ogerpon. I'm Lily. Do you like berries? Lily asked eagerly. Oh gay.
Shyly lifting the edge of its verdant mask, Ogerpon reached out and accepted the berry from Lily's hand, happily munching on it. Eileen and Lily both leaned closer, curious about Ogerpon's face beneath the mask. They caught a glimpse of its orange cheeks, small sharp fangs, and golden eyes sparkling like stars, utterly adorable.
The group wandered the night market, with Ogerpon clinging to Dylan's clothes. Finding it cumbersome, Dylan eventually picked it up.
Ogerpon beamed with joy, gazing excitedly at the bustling crowd. It had been centuries since it experienced such vibrant energy.
However, after half an hour, Dylan set Ogerpon down. Despite its pleading eyes asking for more cuddles, Dylan admitted he was too tired to carry it any longer. Ogerpon was about 1.2 meters tall and weighed nearly 80 pounds. After 2 hours exploring the market, the group arrived at a shrine.
Wait here for a bit, Dylan instructed, leaving Eileen and Lily with Ogerpon while he entered the shrine. Releasing Darkrai from its pokeball, Dylan whispered a few words to it. Nodding, Darkrai vanished into the shadows.
It wasn't long before Darkrai returned, carrying 3 masks. Oh gay!
Ogerpon's eyes lit up as it stared at the masks in Darkrai's hands.
Excited? Dylan teased, holding the masks out toward Ogerpon. Oh gay, oh gay! Ogerpon hopped around joyfully, circling Dylan to express its delight. These were the masks it had lost centuries ago. The 3 masks represented water, fire, and rock types. Ogerpon eagerly tried each one on, its happiness palpable. When it was time to leave, Ogerpon hesitated, visibly disheartened. Oh gay! It expressed its reluctance to part ways. How about staying with us at the inn tonight? I'll give you a surprise tomorrow, Dylan offered gently. Oh gay? It's okay. With you around, I'll feel much safer. Right? Oh gay! Ogerpon nodded firmly.
That night, at the inn, Ogerpon sat on the bed, engrossed in examining its masks.
Dylan chuckled at its enthusiasm.
Time to sleep, oh gay!
Oh gay! But Ogerpon, still brimming with excitement, wasn't sleepy. How about watching a show?
This one's about a hero fighting a 3-headed dragon. It's pretty popular, Dylan suggested, handing it a phone.
Curious, Ogerpon quickly became absorbed in the drama, its golden eyes wide with tension as the dragon kidnapped a princess. By morning, Dylan awoke to find Ogerpon still watching the show, completely captivated. Oh gay, oh gay! Here's the updated version with the changes applied. Oh gay, oh gay!
Ogerpon was seated on a chair, clutching a tissue in one hand and incessantly wiping away its tears, faint sobs escaping from time to time.
Dylan leaned over to check and couldn't help but twitch his lips. The cause of Ogerpon's emotional outburst?
The scene on the phone screen depicted the 3-headed dragon demon lord incinerating the princess with a single fiery breath, leaving the prince utterly heartbroken. It seemed Ogerpon had a rather strong sense of empathy.
Oh gay, did you watch this all night? Oh gay? Ogay ogay ogay. Startled, Ogerpon turned around and, upon seeing Dylan, immediately burst into tears and leapt into his arms. Alright, it's okay. None of it is real. It's just a TV show.
Don't worry, the princess and the prince are just fine, Dylan said soothingly, gently patting the little one's back until it finally calmed down. But, it seemed this little one had developed a liking for dramas.
Later, as they ate breakfast, Dylan watched Ogerpon still glued to its phone, utterly engrossed in its show, and couldn't help but fall into contemplation. A foodie knew in a drama-obsessed Ogerpon where exactly did things go wrong? After breakfast, under Ogerpon's plaintive gaze, Dylan dragged it out into the street.
Stopping at Momozawa's shop, he spent some money to buy a peach-shaped ornament. Ogerpon stared at the peach-shaped ornament, deep in thought.
It felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Dylan and his group then arrived at Treasure Plaza. Necrozma, awaken them, Dylan commanded as he placed the large purple peach ornament on the ground and released Necrozma from its pokeball.
In the game, the Loyal 3 revived abruptly. As for Pekarunt, players could trigger a side quest after obtaining the item Phantom Peach Fruit.
Dylan didn't have a Phantom Peach Fruit, but that didn't matter, he had other methods. Luna. Necrozma appeared in its normal form before Dylan, its colored parts glowing blue.
A powerful psychic energy enveloped the large peach, stimulating the consciousness within, while the psychic waves radiated across Treasure Plaza. Before long, the surface of the peach began to glow a deep purple and floated into the air.
What is that?
Eileen and Lily exclaimed in surprise.
Ogerpon stared blankly at the floating giant peach. Pecharunt.
A low, raspy voice suddenly echoed as the purple peach split open from the middle, revealing a violet figure within.
The mythical Pokemon Pekarunt had awakened. Boom!
With a thunderous explosion, the altar at the front of Treasure Plaza shattered, filling the air with dust and debris.
3 distinctly shaped Pokemon emerged slowly from the cloud of dust: Okadoji, Munkidori, and Pheasantipede.
The legendary Loyal 3 had been resurrected.
Oh gay!
Ogerpon murmured softly, gazing at the 4 familiar figures ahead.
All the past events are etched in your heart, aren't they? I believe you haven't entirely forgiven them. If that's the case, why not go ahead and teach them another lesson? Dylan gently rubbed Ogerpon's head, speaking to it in a warm tone. Ogerpon raised its face to look at Dylan, its eyes shimmering with moving light, and then it nodded firmly. Oh gay! In an instant, Ogerpon leapt forward to confront Pekarunt and the 3 Loyal 3, letting out a fierce cry. Pecharunt?
Pekarunt, still confused after its abrupt revival, saw Ogerpon and was flooded with memories of the past.
The old couple, the mask, the demon.
The old couple, the mask the old couple wanted.
Pecharunt. Pekarunt let out a piercing screech, its white eyes glaring furiously at Ogerpon.
It was this creature. If not for it, Pekarunt would have long since returned the mask to the old couple, fulfilling their wish. They could have loved it more deeply.
Pekarunt's enraged cry was shrill and piercing. 2 dark purple chains shot out from within the split peach shell, hurtling toward Ogerpon on the ground. Pekarunt's signature move: Poison-type Malignant Chain. Oh gay!
Ogerpon donned its verdant mask, its sharp and intense gaze locking onto the airborne Pekarunt. It brought the past into its heart.
The memories of bygone days would transform into its strength.
A dazzling light suddenly erupted from Ogerpon, enveloping it in crystalline brilliance.
Crackle!
The sound of shattering crystal echoed. Pekarunt's malignant chain struck but were blocked by a massive, radiant mask shimmering with crystalline light.
Oh gay! Now gleaming with brilliance, Ogerpon moved the crystalline verdant mask aside and growled deeply at Pekarunt. The glow of memories reflected.
Important memories would never fade, they would become its strength.
This was Ogerpon.
Ogerpon glanced at Pekarunt and then at the 3 Loyal 3 that had rushed over. It thought, perhaps it had gone too easy on them centuries ago. Since they're bouncing around again now, I'll have to hit them harder this time.
Chapter 185, We Can Be Partners. This is
Eileen and Lily were astonished as they gazed at the radiant Ogerpon and the massive crystalline teal mask before it.
What is this?
Its memories ignited its fighting spirit, allowing its true strength to emerge, Dylan explained with a smile. Ogerpon's mask is unique, adorned with distinctive crystal shards that hold terracrystal energy.
That's why its terracrystallization is so extraordinary.
Unlike typical terracrystallization, Ogerpon's transformation wasn't just about itself, rather, the mask was the main focus of its power. When Ogerpon terracrystallized, its ability, Embody Aspect, activated, channeling memories into the teal mask, making it glow and enhancing its speed.
This unique synergy between Ogerpon and its mask defined its terracrystallization. Pecharunt! The raspy cry of Pecharunt echoed with anger as it glared at the terracrystallized Ogerpon. It needed the mask, only with the mask could it return. Pecharunt, why deceive yourself? Don't you see? You've been dormant for centuries.
The elderly couple you cherished has long passed away, Dylan said, delivering a harsh truth.
The tragic tale of Pecharunt and the elderly couple was a classic. Out of love, Pecharunt had offered them its poisonous sticky cakes.
These treats, however, enhanced the eater's desires and abilities. Whether Pecharunt was aware of this side effect was a matter of debate. Initially, the couple's care and love for Pecharunt were pure.
But the cake's influence stirred desires, dreams of legendary fruits, fine clothes, and exotic masks.
Desperate to fulfill their wishes and earn more affection, Pecharunt's actions led to tragedy for all involved. Even now, awakened after centuries, its only thought was to reclaim the mask and return to them.
Pecha?
Pecharunt hesitated, glancing around in confusion. Time had changed everything. The lush village it remembered had transformed beyond recognition.
Panic and fear overwhelmed Pecharunt. How could this happen? The couple, the mask. Pecharunt!
Its sharp cry pierced the air as malevolent purple energy surged from its body.
It believed that reclaiming the mask would restore everything. Two massive, poisonous chains shot out from Pecharunt's shell, aiming for Ogerpon.
At the same time, 3 Pokemon Pecharunt's loyal companions charged forward. Ogerpon faces its old foes, Lily remarked while attempting to scan the Okadoji with her Pokédex, only to find no data available. Still no data, she said, pouting at her brother. When the Rotodex hits the market, I'll get one for you, Dylan promised, patting her golden hair.
For now, Dylan's customized Rotom Pokédex recorded details about the Pokemon. Pecharunt. Type, Poison/Ghost. Ability, Puppet Master. Moves: Toxic Chains, Toxic, Trick, Shadow Ball, Parting Shot, Destiny Bond, Mean Look. Description: forces victims to consume toxic cakes that enhance their desires and abilities, then controls them using chains. Lily shuddered. Such a terrifying Pokemon, it can even control humans, right? The Pokédex then analyzed the other Pokemon. Okadoji, Poison/Fighting. Ability, Toxic Chains. Description: its toxic chain enhances its strength. Munkidori, Poison/Psychic. Pheasantipity, Poison/Fairy.
Despite being surrounded by these legendary Pokemon, Ogerpon stayed calm. Using its teal mask to block the toxic chains, it retaliated with its signature Bramble Club, striking with incredible strength. In no time, the Okadoji were defeated, kneeling in submission.
How strong? Lily's eyes sparkled. The gap in power is vast. Ogerpon is incredible, Dylan praised.
Now only Pecharunt remained. With its Bramble Club in hand, Ogerpon leapt into the air, heading for the trembling Pecharunt.
Pecha. Memories of that fateful night overwhelmed Pecharunt. The terrifying sight of Ogerpon wielding its Bramble Club left it frozen in fear. Bang!
The club struck Pecharunt with immense force, sending it crashing to the ground.
As Pecharunt lay there, its dim, lifeless eyes gazed at the sky.
The mask, its companions, and the happiness the couple once gave it had lost everything.
Tears rolled down Pecharunt's cheeks. Pecha. Pecharunt. Watching its despair, Ogerpon's expression turned complex. Even though it had defeated Pekarunt once more, the past could never be undone. How pitiful, Lily murmured, feeling a pang of sympathy. Pitiful people often bring misfortune upon themselves. This is all its own doing, Dylan said, shaking his head. But that's all in the past now. Dylan took steady steps toward Ogerpon. Oh gay. Hearing the footsteps, Ogerpon turned its head and saw Dylan walking toward it. Well. Do you feel better now? Oh gay. Ogerpon nodded, then shook its head. The light around it dissipated as it deterra-crystallized, tightly embracing Dylan. Those memories were now part of the past, it was time to embrace a new life. Why so sentimental? Dylan gently picked up Ogerpon, tapping its large, round face. After all, Ogerpon had just said, I like Dylan. Oh gay, oh gay. Ogerpon's big eyes squinted into crescents, its happiness radiating as it grinned widely. I like you too, Ogerpon. I hope we can stay together from now on. Oh gay yo. Ogerpon chirped happily, overflowing with joy. Then come along. Dylan took out a luxury ball. Ogerpon reached out with its arm, touching the ball willingly. In a flash of red light, it was absorbed into the luxury ball, which clicked shut without even a single shake. I've caught Ogerpon. Dylan held the luxury ball with a heartfelt smile. Oh gay. The ball opened again, and Ogerpon appeared beside Dylan, clinging to his leg and letting out soft, affectionate cries. All right, Ogerpon, let's go check on that one. Dylan rubbed Ogerpon's head and shifted his gaze to Pekarunt, who was still sobbing on the ground. It's a pitiful creature, Dylan said with a sigh. While he still believed Pekarunt's current state was its own doing, there was a tinge of empathy in his voice. Tap, tap. Pekarunt lay flat on the ground, and as the sound of approaching footsteps reached its ears, it turned its head. The sight of Dylan and Ogerpon filled its view. You're past, there's nothing left of it now, Dylan said, crouching to meet Pekarunt's gaze. Petcha. Tears welled up in Pekarunt's eyes again. Hearing those words struck a sorrowful chord, making it want to cry even more. Ogerpon looked at Pekarunt with pity, its emotions deeply conflicted. But the present and the future are yours to shape. If you're willing to change, you can come with me. Petcha? Pekarunt froze, staring blankly at Dylan. Yes. We can be your companions and friends, but you must change. You can't let your toxic sticky cakes harm anyone anymore. Can you do that? I'll have Ogerpon keep an eye on you. Oh gay. Dylan spoke firmly, and Ogerpon nodded in agreement. Pekarunt's toxic sticky cakes were notorious for enhancing the eater's abilities and desires, even controlling them. It was an incredibly dangerous ability. Legend said that Pekarunt once used its sticky cakes to control most of the villagers in Kitakami, even manipulating a champion-level trainer like Nimona. The sticky cakes were like a drug, addictive and dangerous to all who consumed them. Petcha? Pekarunt's raspy voice carried hope and surprise. Could it really have new companions and happiness? Of course, but the choice is yours to make. Petcha. Then we'll be in your care from now on, Pekarunt. Dylan extended his hand with a smile. He wasn't afraid that Pekarunt might be faking its change of heart. Necrozma was watching carefully from behind. If Pekarunt harbored any ill intentions, Necrozma could intervene immediately. Moreover, Dylan, knowing Pekarunt's story, understood its true nature. In some ways, Pekarunt and Ogerpon were very similar. Ogerpon yearned for friends and happiness, while Pekarunt longed for care and love. Fate, however, had intertwined them in tragedy. To fulfill the elderly couple's desires, Pekarunt had destroyed Ogerpon's happiness. Enraged, Ogerpon had, in turn, taken away Pekarunt's happiness. But now, that would change. Petcha. Pekarunt floated up, drawing closer to Dylan, its raspy cries brimming with anticipation. From now on, we're all partners. Green light shimmered from Dylan's hand as he gently patted Pekarunt's small head, his voice soft and reassuring. Watching this, Ogerpon tilted its head, its expression a mixture of curiosity and amusement. Petcha! Pekarunt cried out in satisfaction.
Dylan's captured 2 more legends, Eileen said with a warm smile, while Lily's eyes sparkled with joy for her brother.
Yes, everyone had a bright future ahead except. Dylan glanced at the defeated Okadoji, Munkidori, and Pheasantipiti lying on the ground. Chapter 186, I'll challenge you as a champion. Dylan was quite conflicted about how to deal with the 3 troublemakers, Okadoji, Munkidori, and Pheasantipiti.
Strictly speaking, these 3 were merely subordinates of Pekarunt in the mask incident centuries ago, playing supporting roles in his crimes.
Their theft of the masks back then was entirely under Pekarunt's orders. Obsessed with his poisonous machi, they obeyed him blindly. The machi amplified their abilities. Okadoji gained strength, Munkidori gained wisdom, and Pheasantipiti gained beauty. However, consuming too much of the toxic machi altered not only their bodies but also corrupted their desires and personalities. After being resurrected from the game, they even ganged up to bully the maskless Ogerpon, showcasing their lingering toxicity. Of course, this revenge wasn't entirely surprising since Ogerpon had originally killed them. Brother, what's wrong? Eileen and Lily approached.
I'm thinking about what to do with these 3, Dylan mused, pondering whether to seal them here again.
Boo! Take them away and keep them under supervision? Dylan heard Ogerpon's suggestion. Boo! Ogerpon nodded. It didn't want anyone else, human or Pokemon, falling victim to Okadoji and its companions in the future. Ogerpon was determined to keep a close eye on Pekarunt and his cohorts.
If that's your decision, then so be it, Dylan agreed, reasoning that Ogerpon was more than capable of monitoring them.
Dylan began capturing Okadoji, Munkidori, and Pheasantipiti one by one.
Though it took some effort, all were successfully caught. It cost him over 50 Ultra Balls. While they may have seemed weak in front of Ogerpon, they were still legendary Pokemon.
Perfect finish. Dylan stored the Ultra Balls containing the 3 Pokemon and glanced at Ogerpon and Pekarunt with a satisfied smile.
This northern journey had been immensely fruitful, a resounding success.
Congratulations, Dylan. You're amazing, brother. Eileen and Lily cheered.
This afternoon, let's head to the Paldea region, Dylan said with a smile, looking at the 2 girls. Having explored all 6 northern sites, there was nothing left to see. Missing the masked festival was a pity, but not a big deal.
All right.
After lunch, as they prepared to head to the airport, Dylan once again encountered Lacey and her companions.
Gym leader Dylan.
Lacey's eyes lit up as she ran over excitedly. Miss Lacey, Miss Carmine, and Mr. Kieran.
Dylan greeted them with a smile. We must be destined to meet. But are you leaving already? Kieran asked, visibly surprised.
Yes, we're about to depart, Dylan said, noticing that Kieran's mental state had significantly improved, with his hair neatly tied back.
You're not staying to search for Ogerpon?
Kieran looked startled, recalling Dylan's words from the previous day about competing with him to find it.
I've already captured it, Mr. Kieran. It's my partner now. Dylan gestured to the Ogerpon behind him. At the moment, it was engrossed in a drama on its phone, tears streaming down its face. Ogerpon had a penchant for melodramatic shows.
It had binged Hero vs. the 3-headed Dragon King all night and was now absorbed in the wandering life of Princess Venusaur.
What?
The trio was stunned, especially Kieran, who stared at the tearful, phone-holding Ogerpon in disbelief.
This was the terrifying ghost he had always admired? Well... Dylan rubbed his chin and glanced at Ogerpon, who was wiping its tears with tissues. It does enjoy its dramas, and it's quite emotional, going through tissues fast. Truly worthy of you, gym leader Dylan.
Lacey exclaimed, unfazed. After all, Dylan was the trainer who had captured both Reshiram and Kyurem.
That's incredible.
Looks like you've lost, Kieran, Carmine remarked.
Kieran bit his lip, lowering his head in disappointment.
He had planned to hunt for Ogerpon with enthusiasm, but it had already been caught.
Don't be discouraged, Mr. Kieran. Even if you lost this time, don't you want to win next time? Dylan patted the boy's shoulder with an encouraging smile. But Kieran hesitated, lacking confidence. Remember what I said yesterday? Confidence is an essential trait for any strong trainer.
Dylan's words stirred something in Kieran, who looked up at him in a daze. I believe in your potential, Mr. Kieran.
Aren't you a student at the Blueberry Academy? How about setting a goal for yourself? I have high hopes for you. Dylan's bright, infectious smile lit a spark in Kieran. Climb to the top of the Blueberry Academy by year's end and come to Kanto to challenge my Rota gym. Show me your progress, what do you say? This won't be an easy task, but I trust you can do it. This is the bond between men.
You have the potential to become a top-tier trainer. Dylan's words carried deep conviction, making Kieran's golden eyes shimmer with emotion.
This unprecedented recognition left Kieran's heart aching with determination. When the time comes, I'll battle you with Ojerpon. That's our promise, Mr. Kieran. Can you do it? Yes, Mr. Dylan. I'll make it happen. Kieran clenched his fists, determination unwavering.
Kieran's steadfast response surprised Carmine, who stared at her usually introverted, scholarly brother.
Lacey's eyes glimmered with curiosity. Could Kieran really possess such potential? With only a few months left until year-end, was it possible for Kieran to rise to the top of Blueberry Academy? You've got great spirit.
I'll be waiting for you in Kanto, Mr. Kieran, Dylan said with a smile.
Kieran's talent was undeniable.
As a rival in the DLC storyline, he was destined to be a powerful champion-level trainer in the future.
Please wait for me. I'll definitely make it. Kieran's determined tone resonated.
Until then, feel free to drop by the Rota gym for some tea, Dylan said, bidding farewell to Lacey and Carmine before leaving with Eileen, Lily, and the drama-addicted Ojerpon.
Kieran, you were too impulsive. What if you can't? Watching Dylan's group leave, Carmine began to chastise her brother. Here's the updated version with the changes. Reaching the pinnacle of Blueberry Academy before the end of the year? That's impossible. I can do it, sis.
Kieran calmly interrupted his sister's words.
Carmine was stunned. I will do it. I will become the strongest in Blueberry Academy.
Kieran stared in the direction where Dylan had disappeared, his eyes shining brightly and resolutely. He now had a goal, even if it was one that had been set for him by someone else.
Dylan, the gym leader. I will become the champion of Blueberry Academy. Then, I will go to Kanto to challenge you. Meanwhile, it seems like you hold that boy in high regard, Dylan. Eileen glanced curiously at Dylan. His attitude toward Kieran was unique, something she could easily discern. Is he exceptionally strong? It's not about strength, Dylan chuckled and shook his head.
Kieran is a genius, but his mindset has limited his growth. I simply gave him a reason to strive forward. For someone like Kieran, who possesses talent but hasn't fully realized it, a clear goal and purpose can unleash astonishing potential. He can become a formidable challenger. And besides, Dylan was looking forward to Kieran's next challenge, though that wasn't the most critical factor. The Kanto region is preparing to establish Johto as an independent league.
This is significant news, Dylan remarked.
And for Johto to stand as its own region, it will need an Elite Four and a champion.
Brother, are you suggesting? Lily was startled. Was Dylan intending to groom Kieran into an Elite Four member or even the champion of Johto? Dylan smiled but said nothing. In truth, Lily had guessed wrong. While Dylan did have plans to support Kieran as an Elite Four member, it wasn't for Johto. Kieran's talent as a trainer was exceptional, second only to those rare protagonists from the games. At the very least, Kieran's potential wouldn't fall short of someone like Diantha, a champion-level trainer. As for Lance, his heart harbored growing darkness. Although Vernon wanted Dylan to advise Lance, Dylan doubted that words alone would wake him. It might be better to let Lance's inner evil fully erupt, and then deal him a solid defeat to teach him the meaning of reality. Only then would Lance naturally return to normal.
If Lance were to succumb to the darkness, the current Kanto Elite Four would be on the verge of collapse. Lorelei would undoubtedly leave with Lance, while Agatha, with her hidden agenda, might also join them. Bruno, who was dependent on the other three, would have no choice but to follow. In such a scenario, not only would Johto's Elite Four and champion positions need to be filled, but Kanto would also be left without an Elite Four, forcing the Kanto League to rebuild it from scratch. Kiran was Dylan's candidate to serve as one of Kanto's potential backups. Dylan had no particular interest in power, as he already possessed strength. However, placing his people in strategic positions would undoubtedly be advantageous in the long run, making everything more convenient and providing a sense of personal fulfillment. As Dylan pondered, he realized he already had a surprising number of current and future champion-level trainers under his guidance. Particularly Dylan's apprentice Celine, who was destined to become a top-tier champion-level trainer. Once I return to Kanto, I'll find some time to visit Viridian Forest and bring the child out to serve as a gym apprentice.
Celine won't need much longer before she embarks on her own journey.
Dylan mused. That child, like himself, Lance, and Giovanni, had been blessed by nature and possessed the rare and unique Viridian Force. That child was also destined to be a top-tier champion-level trainer in the future.
Perfect. Chapter 187, It seemed a little crazy. Medali, Paldea region.
Located in the western part of the Paldea region, Medali is a charming settlement where houses are built like a labyrinth of blocks, creating a visually intricate and complex layout. Despite being a small town, Medali is renowned for its culinary culture. The local eateries are so popular that lines of eager diners resemble those in bustling metropolises.
Dylan and his companions arrived in Medali around 5 p.m. Naturally, their destination was the town's most famous restaurant, Debbie Diner.
However, seeing the long queue at the entrance, Dylan found himself in silent contemplation.
And then,
with the power of money paving the way, Dylan and his group secured their place inside the restaurant to enjoy their meal. These grilled rice balls smell amazing," Eileen commented after taking a bite.
Okay.
Beside her, the mischievous Ogerpon munched away, its face covered in grains of rice, nodding enthusiastically in agreement. Well, it's famous for a reason, but Dylan's gaze shifted toward a middle-aged man in a black suit seated at a nearby table, also enjoying a grilled rice ball.
What's the matter, brother?
He looks really tired. Lily noticed Dylan's gaze and followed it, her curiosity piqued by the exhausted appearance of the man. His sallow complexion, heavy dark circles, and lifeless eyes made it seem as though he could fall asleep or collapse at any moment.
Has he been pulling all-nighters? He looks like he's on the brink of burnout. Brother, do you know him?
No, not really.
That's odd.
Lily's gaze lingered on the weary man, filled with curiosity.
It's not that strange, actually.
Corporate life does that to people, Dylan shrugged. In truth, he did recognize the man. It was Medali's gym leader, Larry. Larry specialized in normal-type Pokemon, believing that their ordinary nature reflected the true essence of life.
But Larry had another identity. He was one of the Paldea Elite Four.
As an Elite Four member, Larry adopted a flying-type team when facing challengers, often telling them, if you have any complaints, take them up with the league head. Interestingly, both of these roles, gym leader and Elite Four member, were side gigs for Larry. His primary job was as an employee in the Paldea League's operations department, where his performance was less than stellar. In other words, Larry was juggling 3 jobs at once, which explained his perpetually fatigued demeanor.
Such dedication. Dylan couldn't help but admire this fellow professional from another region. Larry truly lived up to his reputation as the Pokemon world's most famous overworked salaryman. To what extent was Larry overworked?
In the games, when the protagonist challenges the Paldea League, Larry is the 3rd Elite Four member to battle. After giving it his all, he's so exhausted that he lacks the energy to even announce the next opponent. Moreover, during the climactic showdown between the protagonist and champion Nimona in Mesagoza, while others gather to watch the duel, Larry simply grabs his briefcase and calmly leaves to continue his work.
Ah, the life of a corporate slave. This is why taking vacations is essential. Dylan reaffirmed his stance, working year-round without breaks? Unthinkable. Absolutely unthinkable. Encountering Larry at the restaurant was a minor incident.
Dylan didn't approach him for a conversation. After all, the man had enough on his plate without additional distractions. After a night's rest in Medali, Dylan and his companions set off the next day toward the Great Paldine Crater. This map is so strange.
Lily studied Paldea's map with a puzzled expression. Why is there a giant basin in the middle?
She pointed to the central part of the Paldea map. The region was divided into 4 areas: east, west, south, and north, each with its own distinct climate.
This central peculiarity was one of Paldea's defining features.
It's called the Great Paldine Crater.
It's incredibly mysterious. But I bet our all-knowing Dylan knows all about it, right?
Eileen teased, glancing playfully at Dylan.
Do you know, brother? Lily asked, her wide eyes filled with curiosity.
I know a bit, Dylan replied with a soft smile. Hearing this, both Eileen and Lily leaned in expectantly, waiting for him to begin. The origins of the Great Paldine Crater remain a mystery to this day, but it's believed to have formed over 1 million years ago. About 2,000 years ago, the Paldine Empire began ruling the region. Legend has it that the emperor, a tyrannical figure, was obsessed with the myth of treasures hidden within the crater. He sent numerous expeditions into the depths of the crater.
However, the terrain inside was too complex, and strange rumors deterred exploration.
No one reached the bottom until about 200 years ago, when an explorer named Heath led the Area Zero expedition team to the crater's base.
From then on, the area was called Area Zero.
Heath documented his experiences in the Scarlet Book and the Violet Book.
Wow! Lily exclaimed in awe.
Even a powerful emperor failed to explore the crater, yet one expedition team managed to succeed. Yes, but Heath's writings were considered too fantastical, so most people dismissed them as mere folklore. Then, about 140 years ago, terrestrialized Pokémon were discovered in Area Zero. While these Pokémon were brought out of the crater, their bodies lost their radiant glow. For a long time, terrestrialization remained shrouded in mystery. 87 years ago, observation stations were established in Area Zero, gradually unraveling its secrets.
However, access remains restricted to ordinary people.
Finally, 10 years ago, Professors Sada and Turo, 2 brilliant scientists, uncovered the mechanism of terrestrialization and invented the Terra Orb, making the technology accessible to the League and academies.
As Dylan finished his explanation, the group approached the massive basin visible in the distance. So, Dylan, do you think Heath's accounts are true? Eileen asked curiously.
While Dylan shared key information, the true mysteries of the crater remained unsolved.
What about the legendary treasure? What do you think? Dylan replied with a teasing smile. Many of Heath's descriptions, such as the paradox Pokémon, were indeed real.
However, a significant paradox lay within the story itself.
Heath's exploration occurred 200 years ago, yet paradox Pokémon weren't native to this era. Anyone who played Scarlet/Violet or its DLCs knew the truth. Professors Sada and Turo, inspired by Heath's books, built a time machine that brought ancient and futuristic Pokémon into the present. And thus, the paradox, the time machine created by the professors, was inspired by books detailing creatures that supposedly shouldn't have existed in Heath's time. So, 200 years ago, how did Hyjia encounter those paradox Pokémon and write the Scarlet Book and Violet Book? Dylan actually had a theory, but now wasn't the time to dwell on it.
Brother, someone has been attacked by a wild Pokémon, Lily hurriedly pointed to the distance on the side as she spoke to Dylan.
Dylan looked in the indicated direction, raising an eyebrow, a glimmer of interest flashing in his eyes. At that moment, up ahead. Darn it, how is this Pokémon so strong?
A young woman named Iona looked at her fainted Luxray, realizing the dire situation she was in, especially with that ferocious Pokémon approaching her step by step. The savage aura and those wild, untamed eyes sent chills down her spine. It was a Pokémon with many similar features to Donphan: 2 long, curved tusks like a mammoth's, feral golden eyes full of malice, and a purple trunk adorned with upright red scales.
Wild. Savage.
It was the Great Tusk, a paradox Pokémon thought to resemble an ancient form of Donphan. Seeing the dangerously menacing great tusk closing in, Iono's delicate face turned pale. Initially, she had whimsically decided to livestream the Paldea crater from afar. But to her misfortune, she had barely arrived before running into this ruthless and unreasonable great tusk. Faced with a wild Pokemon that attacked without provocation, Iono had naturally chosen to fight back. After all, she was a gym leader. However, she hadn't anticipated the sheer strength of this wild Pokemon. Mismagius, Electrode, Bellibolt, all her main Pokemon had been defeated one after another by this wild beast. How could it be this strong? Run, Iono, run! What the heck, why is there such a dangerous wild Pokemon in this area? Hang on, Iono. I'm on my way to help you, just hold on. Don't just stand there, Iono. What's wrong with you people? Turning your back and running from a wild Pokemon like this is just asking to be killed. Iono's flying livestream equipment was still running, and her livestream chat was flooded with frantic comments. But Iono had no attention to spare for the chat. Her mind was racing, she had no intention of dying here. She still had so much life ahead of her. As for running? How could a human possibly outrun a Pokemon? Iono regretted not bringing her Kilowattrel, it could have at least gotten her out of danger safely. A low, feral growl interrupted her frantic thoughts. She looked ahead in terror as the great tusk began charging toward her. Iono closed her eyes in fear. Oh no! So this is how it ends for me? But... boom! A deafening explosion rang out, and a powerful shockwave swept through the area, causing Iono's heavy twin ponytails to flutter. Instinctively, she shielded her face with her hands. A pained growl echoed, then fell silent. Iono opened her eyes and looked ahead, only to see the once ferocious wild Pokemon lying defeated in a crater. Standing at the edge of the crater was a humanoid Pokemon wearing a mask. Bo-ne. The Ogerpon tilted its head, glanced at Iono, pulled out a smartphone, tapped on it to resume playback, and casually walked toward Dylan's direction. The poor Ivysaur princess was once again ambushed by the evil Arbok, plunging her back into crisis. Iono stared blankly at Ogerpon's retreating figure. Did she hear it right? Was that narration coming from its phone just now? This Pokemon, which could easily take down such a ferocious wild Pokemon, was watching a drama on its phone. Was she out of touch? Had Pokemon become this trendy these days? A Pokemon that pulls out a phone to watch TV after a battle? Iono was sure she hadn't gone mad, but the world, it seemed a little crazy. Chapter 188, What a Luck! Ultra Ball, go! Dylan approached and, after contemplating for a moment, tossed an Ultra Ball at the unconscious Great Tusk. The instant the Ultra Ball made contact, the Great Tusk was enveloped in a red light and absorbed into the ball. Beep! Beep! Click! The Ultra Ball clicked into place, signaling a successful capture. Captured! Iono widened his eyes in shock. The Pokemon that nearly sent him to the afterlife had been subdued. Is he the trainer of that green Pokemon? Iono looked at the boy in black standing nearby. With short, messy black hair and a handsome, gentle face, the boy's expression was calm and friendly. He exuded an air of approachability. His clean-cut appearance was complemented by a black casual shirt and black jeans, with a well-proportioned physique, a strikingly handsome young man. He's amazing! A surprised female voice snapped Iono from his thoughts. Turning around, he saw a girl in a Naranja Academy uniform. Nimona, what are you doing here? I saw you were in danger and happened to be nearby, so I came to help. But it seems you didn't need me. Nimona curiously studied Dylan. She had occasionally watched Iono's livestreams but hadn't expected today's broadcast to almost turn into an emergency. That was easier than I expected. Dylan picked up the Ultra Ball and opened it again after some thought. With a flash of white light, Great Tusk reappeared before him. Great Tusk. Ground/fighting type. Paradox Pokemon. Ability, Photosynthesis. Moves, Giga Impact, Earthquake, Knockoff, Stomp, Brick Break, Rapid Spin, Sunny Day, Heavy Slam. Description: resembling creatures described in ancient supernatural magazines, this Pokemon is said to have survived since prehistoric times.
The Rotom Dex floated over and diligently introduced the Pokemon. Don't be so aggressive.
The world is full of wonderful things, delicious food, and fun activities.
Learn to enjoy life. Dylan spoke to Great Tusk with a warm smile.
But Great Tusk's golden eyes remained wild and wary, staring at Dylan. Despite being captured, its primal instincts made it reluctant to accept him.
It seems you're still hesitant. Very well, Ogerpon.
His Ogerpon paused its TV binge-watching and morphed its arm into a vine-covered mace, glaring at Great Tusk.
Startled, Great Tusk backed away several steps, its fierce gaze softening. See? I don't want to use force.
Follow me, and your life will be far better than it is now.
Dylan's tone was still gentle. Great Tusk. Looks like you've agreed. Don't worry, soon, you'll be glad you made the right choice. Dylan pulled out a max potion and sprayed it on Great Tusk, calming its agitated spirit. Paradox Pokemon are notorious for their ferocity, but Dylan believed any Pokemon could be won over with patience. You've been watching for a while now. Aren't you going to say anything? Dylan turned to Iono and Nimona, smiling.
Hello. I didn't want to interrupt while you were busy.
Thanks so much for saving me.
Iono's lively tone made it hard to tell she had just faced a life-threatening situation.
You're really strong. I'm Nimona from Naranja Academy, Nimona added, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Nice to meet you. I'm Dylan from Kanto's Rhoda.
This is my sister Lily, and my good friend Eileen.
Dylan introduced himself with elegance and politeness.
And this is my Pokemon, Ogerpon. It's currently obsessed with watching dramas. Dylan glanced at Ogerpon, who had already resumed its show, though he hoped the screen time wouldn't affect its eyesight.
Mr. Dylan, your Ogerpon is amazing.
I saw it take down Great Tusk in one hit during the livestream.
Nimona exclaimed, brimming with admiration. Thank you for the kind words, Dylan nodded humbly.
I really can't thank you enough for saving me, Iono chimed in, her gratitude evident.
No need to thank me. Travelers helping each other is only natural.
Besides, as a fellow gym leader, it's only right to assist a colleague.
You're a gym leader too?
Nimona's eyes lit up, her enthusiasm growing. Yes, he's a very famous gym leader from Kanto, Lily said proudly.
That's amazing, Dylan.
You're so impressive.
Nimona exclaimed.
Seeing the livestream chat teasing her about the difference in their abilities, Iono puffed her cheeks in mock indignation.
Oh no, I forgot the livestream was still on.
I hope you don't mind, Dylan, Iono said apologetically.
It's fine.
I'm not doing anything shady, so there's nothing to hide, Dylan replied with a light laugh.
That's great.
By the way, Dylan, are you here in Paldea for sightseeing?
Iono asked curiously.
Yes, as you said, being a gym leader can get dull, so I like exploring other regions when I have time.
Sounds wonderful.
I haven't been to other regions yet, Iono said wistfully.
Suddenly, Nimona's eyes sparkled with determination. Dylan, can I challenge you to a battle? She asked eagerly. Dylan raised an eyebrow.
Nimona's passion for battles was palpable, and her eager gaze was hard to refuse.
It's not impossible, Dylan said, smiling at her excitement. Nimona had already defeated the Paldea Elite Four and champion before.
Despite that, her love for battling only grew stronger, making her one of the fiercest trainers Dylan had ever met.
Dylan, Nimona is a very strong trainer.
She successfully challenged the Elite Four and the reigning champion last year, claiming the top spot in Paldea. Iono introduced Nimona to Dylan. While outsiders might not be aware, as gym leaders, they certainly knew this. Nimona had already reached champion level last year.
Champion level? Hearing this, both Eileen and Lily looked at the clean-ored Naranja Academy student in astonishment. Are Paldea's students this amazing? It's not really something to boast about.
I feel like champion Gita wasn't even using her full strength. I don't really like that, Nimona said with a scrunch of her nose. Although she had become the new champion, she did not take pride in it. For her, battles were her passion, her love, and her ideal. She yearned for battles fought with all-out effort. But when she challenged champion Gita last year, she clearly felt Gita was holding back. And why? What kind of top champion uses a Glimmera with toxic debris as their trump card? That makes sense. Miss Nimona, did you bring your main team with you? Dylan asked thoughtfully. Of course. I always have my Pokemon with me. Are you accepting my challenge, gym leader Dylan? Nimona's eyes sparkled with excitement. Of course, but I hope Miss Nimona will give it her all. Otherwise, you won't be earning my badge, Dylan replied with a smile. I understand, gym leader Dylan. You can count on me. Nimona's eyes shone brightly, her expression brimming with excitement. Knowing I'm a champion-level trainer and still giving such a reminder. What does that mean? It means Dylan is definitely a champion-level trainer too. And it makes sense, considering the incredible strength of his Pokemon, like that Ogerpon. Big sister Nimona, you should be cautious. My brother's strength is formidable, it's no weaker than a regional champion's, Lily kindly warned Nimona. She found this straightforward older sister quite likable. Hee thanks, little Lily. I always give my all in every battle. Nimona replied with a big grin. If we've decided to battle, then let's spin for the type matchup, big sister Nimona. Lily took out a small spinner from her spatial bag. What's this? Nimona blinked in surprise. Iono was curious too. It was just a common spinner, but the sections on it represented different Pokemon types. It's a special feature of the Rota Gym. Since my brother is skilled in multiple types, we use this spinner. Whatever type it lands on, my brother will use a team of that type to battle you, Lily explained. Wow, that's amazing. Nimona's eyes lit up. Gym leader Dylan was skilled in so many types? Do I just press this? That's right. Nimona eagerly pressed the button, and the spinner began to whirl. Soon, the needle stopped on the deep purple section. Poison? Correct, you landed on poison. Dylan raised an eyebrow. How fortunate, he had just acquired several poison-type Pokemon. Poison, huh? Not bad. Nimona blinked with interest. There was no need to search for a special battleground. This spacious area was perfect for a battle. Now, the Rota Gym Challenge begins. The challenger is Big Sister Nimona, and the chosen type is Poison. The battle rules are a 5 versus 5 match. My brother will send out his Pokemon first and cannot switch. Big Sister Nimona wins if she defeats all of my brother's Pokemon. Battle, start. Lily raised a small flag and announced the rules. Wow, Lily, you totally have the vibe of a referee, Iono remarked in surprise. I've seen it so many times, I just picked it up naturally, Lily replied, slightly shy. After all, she watched battles at the Rota Gym every day, so she had memorized the referee's lines. Plus, being a referee wasn't particularly difficult. On the battlefield. Phew, I didn't expect to challenge a gym leader from another region so soon. What luck! Nimona patted her cheeks, her excitement growing as she stretched and warmed up. Come at me with everything you've got, Dylan said, his demeanor still calm and refined. All right. Gym leader Dylan, please guide me. Nimona quickly adjusted her mood. She raised her left arm to rest on her right arm, gripping her Pokeball with her right hand and aiming it at Dylan, her aura sharp and commanding. I am Nimona. Champion-level Nimona is challenging you. Chapter 189, is it okay? Do you think Nimona will be able to succeed in the challenge? Iono pondered aloud. Her live stream was still active, and with the consent of both Dylan and Nimona, she continued broadcasting. Neither of them objected. Poison was the first type Dylan mastered, and recently, he's captured a few poison-type Pokemon, Eileen commented with a graceful and elegant smile. But he might not use them, right? Those Pokemon are probably part of his Golden Legend team, or maybe not. Lily tilted her head but hesitated after glancing at the Pecarunt nearby. While Pecarunt's performance in defeating Ogerpon and others showcased its strength, it also hinted that Ogerpon and the others weren't particularly strong. Normally, Dylan would categorize legendary Pokemon under the Golden Legend team, but it wasn't guaranteed that he wouldn't include them in his type-based lineup. At the battlefield. Seeing Nimona brimming with energy, Dylan couldn't help but smile slightly. "I'm quite looking forward to this match with you, Nimona," he said, elegantly adjusting his shirt collar. "As this is your first challenge at Rota Gym, please allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Dylan, the leader of Rota Gym." He retrieved a luxury ball. "For this battle, I'll be using a Poison-type team. I wonder if you've faced such Pokemon before. The poison of Poison types can be quite tricky to handle. Let's see how you deal with them." Nimona's eyes sparkled with excitement. "My first Pokemon will be this one." Dylan stylishly tossed the luxury ball behind him. "Arbok, get ready to battle." A flash of white light revealed a large, purple cobra. Its icy gaze fixed on Nimona as its forked tongue flicked rapidly. "Arbok, huh? Then I'll choose you." Nimona considered briefly before confidently throwing her first Pokeball. Armarouge. From the ball emerged a humanoid Pokemon clad in striking golden armor, standing tall and regal before Nimona. It was the evolution of Charcadet, known as Armarouge. Deep Armarouge, Fire and Psychic type, the Fire Warrior Pokemon. Ability, Weak Armor. Signature moves, Armor Cannon, Expanding Force, Flamethrower, Calm Mind, Smokescreen, Psychic, Destiny Bond, Inherited. Description: a form that evolved by donning armor of a warrior who accomplished great feats. It's a loyal Pokemon. Looks pretty cool, Lily remarked, reading the Pokédex entry, though she thought her brother's Cerulege looked even more impressive. Choosing a Psychic-type Armarouge against Poison types is a smart move, Iono commented, blinking her large eyes. Psychic counters Poison, after all. On the battlefield. Arbok stared coldly at Armarouge, exuding an invisible aura of intimidation. Its Intimidate ability activated, lowering Armarouge's attack stat by 1 stage. "The challenger moves first," Dylan said graciously, gesturing with a gentlemanly demeanor. "Then I won't hold back, Leader Dylan." Nimona wasted no time in seizing the opportunity. Armarouge, Expanding Force. As a champion-level trainer, Nimona understood that battles weren't just about type matchups, but leveraging type advantages was crucial. It was one of the fundamentals of Pokemon battles. Armarouge extended an arm as multicolored energy coalesced, unleashing a Psychic-type Expanding Force. The colorful shockwave surged forward with speed. Though it would reach its full power in a psychic terrain, even without it, Expanding Force remained a potent move. "Use Sucker Punch," Dylan commanded. Arbok's eyes gleamed with a dark light as it slithered at high speed, deftly evading the Expanding Force and closing in on Armarouge. Its swift Sucker Punch struck before Armarouge could react. Too fast. Nimona frowned as Arbok's speed made countering impossible. Armarouge. It raised its arm to shield itself, trying to mitigate the damage. Bang! Arbok's attack struck with force, pushing Armarouge's arm into its chest. The impact caused it to cry out in pain, but its weak armor ability triggered, significantly boosting its speed despite the damage taken. And now, crunch! Arbok opened its jaws, revealing dark, gleaming fangs and crunch attack. Psychic, stop it! Nimona quickly ordered. Fighting through the pain, Armarouge released a burst of colorful psychic energy, directly hitting Arbok's midsection and forcing it back. Impressive reaction and execution, Dylan observed, raising an eyebrow. Nimona's Armarouge demonstrated its exceptional training, a testament to her skill as a trainer. Don't let up. Armarouge, Expanding Force again. Nimona's focused, fiery determination fully emerged as she commanded the next move. Dig, Dylan said with a faint smile. Arbok quickly burrowed into the ground with astonishing speed. Nimona paused, knowing Armarouge didn't have an effective counter against Dig. Use Calm Mind.
Armourouge closed its eyes, a faint blue glow emanating from it as it raised its special attack and special defense. Dylan responded calmly, "Toxic spikes." From the hole, Arbok emerged momentarily, releasing a dark purple orb into the air. The orb burst, scattering strange purple fluids onto the ground. Toxic spikes? Nimona frowned. Isn't that a control move? That's rare, Iono remarked curiously. Is toxic spikes not common in Paldea? Lily asked. Is it popular in Kanto? Iono countered. In her experience as a gym leader, she'd never seen challengers use toxic spikes. In Kanto, toxic spikes is extremely popular, Lily said with innocent honesty. The move was controversial but widely used, offering damage, control, and persistence all in one. Before Dylan popularized it, toxic spikes wasn't well known, Eileen added, smiling. On the battlefield. Setting up toxic spikes instead of stopping Calm Mind, interesting choice, Nimona muttered. Nimona gazed at the Armourouge, now finished with its meditation. Toxic spikes, a move rarely seen in Paldea, wasn't commonly used. But she vaguely remembered its effects. Toxic spikes would poison opponents upon entry, causing ongoing damage. Still, it wasn't a big issue. A bit of damage was negligible. After its meditation, her Armourouge's special attack had increased again. All she needed was to take down the opposing Arbok first. Armourouge, Psychic. Nimona initiated her attack. A brilliant blue glow lit up in Armourouge's eyes as a colorful wave of psychic energy surged toward Arbok. Sucker Punch, Dylan responded with a calm smile. Arbok's eyes flashed with dark energy as it slithered rapidly across the ground toward Armourouge. That won't work on me a second time. Nimona's confident smile radiated energy. Armourouge, Psychic again. Armourouge instinctively stepped back to unleash another psychic control move, but that very step triggered a sinister purple glow from the ground. Toxic spikes poison. The unexpected toxin engulfed Armourouge, making it wince and hunch over in pain, its body now shrouded in an eerie purple aura. Armourouge. Nimona's pupils contracted in shock. Armourouge gritted its teeth, fighting through the pain to stand upright, but Arbok was already upon it. Bam! The sucker punch struck Armourouge squarely in the chest, sending it flying backward with a pained cry. This is bad. Nimona's heart sank. Armourouge, protect. Nimona's battle instincts were sharp, she anticipated Dylan's follow-up. Earthquake, Dylan commanded. Arbok raised its tail and slammed it to the ground, unleashing a powerful ground-type earthquake. Rumble. The battlefield trembled violently as the shockwaves surged forward. Armourouge, sprawled on the ground, endured its agony to conjure a green protective barrier, blocking the oncoming seismic wave. Great read, Nimona, Dylan praised, genuinely impressed. Her battle awareness was exceptional. But your Armourouge is already hanging by a thread, Dylan remarked calmly. The battle's not over yet, gym leader Dylan, Nimona retorted with a broad, excited grin. This was the kind of opponent she lived for. Strong, relentless adversaries. Oh. I beg to differ, Dylan replied with a faint smile. Arbok, Earthquake. Arbok coldly locked its gaze on Armourouge before slamming its tail down again, unleashing another earthquake. Armourouge, dodge. Armourouge leapt into the air immediately. Dig, Dylan countered. Arbok burrowed into the ground just as the earthquake subsided. Armourouge, unable to fly, began to descend. The moment it landed, the sinister purple toxin struck again, seeping into Armourouge from the toxic spikes. Poison continued to erode its stamina. This toxic spike strategy was more troublesome than Nimona had expected. It could trigger multiple times. Just then, the ground beneath Armourouge erupted. The massive, venomous cobra emerged, its body infused with ground-type energy, crashing into Armourouge. Destiny Bond. Dylan raised an eyebrow. So this Armourouge had inherited Destiny Bond. Armourouge's eyes flashed with ghostly light just as Arbok struck. Armourouge was hurled backward, collapsing unconscious.
At that moment, a dense gray mist emerged from Armarouge's fallen form, swiftly enveloping Arbok.
Destiny Bond, a ghost-type move. Arbok's vision darkened as it too slumped to the ground, unable to battle. Wow! That was an incredible Destiny Bond from Nimona.
Iono exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. But her attention quickly shifted to Dylan, whose calm expression didn't change.
Ha! Dylan doesn't seem surprised?
Of course not, Aaron chimed in with a smile.
Dylan's a ghost-type specialist. He's well-versed in moves like Destiny Bond. Arbok and Armarouge are both unable to battle, Lily declared.
As the referee, her judgment was impeccable.
You're amazing, Gym Leader Dylan. Recalling her fainted Armarouge, Nimona's fiery gaze burned brighter.
She hadn't felt this overwhelmed in battle for a long time.
You're strong too, Miss Nimona.
Few trainers can take down my main Pokémon, Dylan replied with a smile.
But the warm-up is over. Now, let's see how you handle this. Dylan retrieved another Ultra Ball and tossed it. Your next opponent is this. Okadoji, get ready for battle.
With a low growl, a strong, black and green Pokémon adorned with a purple poison chain around its neck landed before Dylan. It raised an arm in a claw-like pose, flashing a menacing grin at Nimona.
One of the Loyal 3, Okadoji. Though it was a legendary Pokémon, the Loyal 3 weren't exceptionally powerful. Its level hovered around 70, making it a fitting challenge for Nimona.
Big Brother is using Okadoji and the others after all, Lily commented, her lovely eyes glinting.
Beside her, an intrigued Furret glanced at Okadoji before returning to its drama. This Pokémon is called Okadoji? What's special about it? Iono asked curiously. She didn't recognize the Pokémon. Well, Okadoji has a nickname, Lily explained after a moment's thought. It's one of the legendary Loyal 3. A legendary Pokémon? Is it even fair for Dylan to use a legendary against challengers? Iono gasped, stunned. A battle-hardened gym leader using a legendary Pokémon, wasn't that overkill? Chapter 190, My First Defeated. Okadoji? Nimona clearly didn't recognize Okadoji but looked it up and down with great curiosity. Okadoji is a poison and fighting-type Pokémon. Dylan introduced it gently.
He didn't mind revealing this bit of information since it was a gym battle after all. Okadoji is far stronger than Arbok, so you should be careful, Miss Nimona.
Dylan reminded her. While Arbok was one of his veterans, its level wasn't top tier.
There was no helping it. Managing the growth of his team while progressing through various scenarios in the simulation meant it was impossible to train everyone equally. Even so, Dylan discovered that he had a decent talent for being a trainer. Even without the growth boost from the simulation, his focused training sessions during the day had notably increased his Pokémon's strength.
For time's weakness to Psychic, Nimona pondered for a moment.
Unfortunately, her Armarouge, which had Psychic moves, had already been defeated. It was her only Psychic-type Pokémon. Additionally, the toxic spikes on the field were a serious problem. They needed to be cleared as soon as possible, or the continuous activation of toxic spikes would have a significant impact on the battle.
Flygon. After some thought, Nimona threw out her second Pokeball. A flash of white light revealed a green, dragon-like Pokémon hovering in front of Nimona.
It had two antennae on its head, green wings with red edges, and a pair of semi-spherical red structures shielding its eyes.
It was Flygon.
Beep. Flygon, ground/dragon type, the mystic Pokémon.
Ability, Levitate. Moves: Dragon Claw, Boom Burst, Dragon Rush, Earthquake, Dragon Dance, Superpower, Defog, Dragon Tail.
Description: known as the mystic Pokémon, Flygon kicks up sandstorms when it flaps its wings, always surrounded by swirling sands while in flight.
This Flygon looked quite elegant. As expected, it knows Defog. Iono smiled knowingly as she looked at the Pokédex. Toxic spikes are indeed troublesome.
When triggered, the poison damage is devastating, Iono agreed.
She now understood why Lily had asked earlier about dealing with hazards.
Even though Toxic Spikes had only been triggered twice in the previous battle with Armarouge, it had already proven to be a game-changer.
Toxic Spikes were incredibly disruptive during critical moments in battle. Flygon used Defog. Nimona predictably chose to clear the field first. Snarl, Dylan said with a light chuckle.
Flygon flapped its wings furiously, unleashing a strong wind tinged with white light that swept across the battlefield.
Defog.
The purple fluid on the ground was blown away, and the Toxic Spikes were completely cleared. At the same time, however, Okadoji let out a menacing growl, sending ripples of dark sound waves toward the airborne Flygon.
Snarl, a dark-type move.
It's worth noting that as Okadoji used Snarl, the deep purple chain around its neck emitted a violet glow, and the sound waves were laced with specks of poisonous light. The sound waves hit Flygon's body.
Flygon winced slightly, closing its eyes in discomfort. Then, nothing much happened.
Okadoji's special attack stat was low, and Snarl wasn't a stab, same type attack bonus, move. The damage was minimal.
Still, the secondary effect of Snarl successfully activated, and the white aura surrounding Flygon dispersed, lowering its special attack. Typically, Flygon was known for its physical attacks, though it could occasionally be a mixed attacker. Purely special attack-focused Flygons were rare. That's it? Nimona was baffled.
The pitiful power of Snarl made her wonder if Dylan was using a newly trained Pokémon to battle her.
Otherwise, this didn't make sense. Is this really a legendary Pokémon?
Iono, watching from the sidelines, was equally stunned. In her mind, legendary Pokémon were supposed to be overwhelmingly powerful. Okadoji isn't a special attack-based Pokémon, Lily replied with an awkward but polite smile.
On the field. Flygon, Dragon Rush. Nimona hesitated for a moment but decided to test the strength of this Okadoji. Since Snarl had lowered Flygon's special attack, using long-range moves to test the waters wasn't ideal.
Besides, her Flygon was trained for close combat.
Roar! The ferocious sound of a dragon's cry echoed in her ears. A dark, dragon-shaped aura enveloped Flygon as it dove downward. Dragon Rush! Flygon descended in a powerful dive, exuding an overwhelming killing intent as it targeted Okadoji.
Focus Punch, Dylan said with a calm smile. Okadoji let out a guttural growl, its right fist glowing white while the purple chain around its neck shimmered with violet light.
Focus Punch, a fighting-type move.
Faced with the terrifying dragon descending upon it, Okadoji stood its ground and swung its glowing fist with full force.
Boom!
Focus Punch collided with Dragon Rush, sending shockwaves rippling across the battlefield. The ground beneath Okadoji cracked from the impact. With a roar, Okadoji shattered the dragon-shaped aura of Dragon Rush.
Its fist struck Flygon directly.
A heavy thud echoed as Flygon was sent flying backward, crashing hard onto the ground.
Flygon! Nimona exclaimed in shock.
The sheer power of Okadoji was astonishing. Flygon struggled to lift itself, but suddenly, a deep purple glow enveloped its body.
Horrifying purple blotches appeared on its skin.
Flygon let out a pained cry as the glow continued to flicker, poison coursing through its veins.
Poison? Toxic? How is this possible? Nimona was stunned. It didn't make sense.
Those blotches were clearly from Toxic, but Okadoji hadn't used any poison-type moves.
Focus Punch was a fighting-type move, how could it inflict Toxic? It's entirely possible, Miss Nimona.
You don't fully understand Okadoji, Dylan said with a smile, causing Nimona to frown.
Okadoji's ability is Poison Chain.
This ability gives its attacks a chance to inflict Toxic on its opponent.
Snarl has a high chance of lowering Flygon's special attack.
Naturally, you would choose to make Flygon engage in close combat even if only to test things out. I originally planned to have Okadoji use Snarl again after this Focus Punch to see if it could inflict Toxic.
But as it turns out, that's no longer necessary. Dylan explained with a chuckle.
Poison Chain was an exceptionally powerful ability, far superior to abilities like Poison Point.
Unlike Poison Point, Poison Chain applied to all attacking moves.
While Okadoji's special attack was low and Snarl wasn't a stab move, Snarl was easy to hit with and had a high chance of lowering special attack. If lucky, Snarl could even inflict toxic outright. If not, it still forced opponents into close combat with Okadoji, which was advantageous either way. How impressive, Gym Leader Dylan. Nimona finally understood, but this revelation left her in a difficult position. Flygon had already suffered a heavy blow from Focus Punch and was now badly poisoned. This situation was incredibly unfavorable. This poison chain ability is ridiculously overpowered. Iono exclaimed in amazement. Any attack having a chance to inflict toxic made this ability exceptionally strong. It really is an impressive ability, Irene agreed. There was no denying the effectiveness of Poison Chain. Come back, Flygon. Nimona decisively recalled Flygon. A wise choice. Dylan nodded in approval. Flygon could no longer fight effectively. Its close combat strength was inferior to Okadoji, and the toxic condition only made matters worse. Continuing to fight would be futile. It was better to withdraw and re-evaluate the situation, keeping an eye out for opportunities to counter Okadoji with a better-suited Pokémon. The ability to assess the situation and adapt was an essential skill for any trainer in competitive battles. Revavrum. Nimona quickly threw out her third Pokeball. A Pokémon resembling a metal vehicle landed heavily in front of her. Its body was a mix of brownish purple and silver, with a single eye resembling a headlight at the front. It was Revavrum, a Steel/Poison-type Pokémon. Beep Revavrum, Steel/Poison type, the multi-cylinder Pokémon. Ability, Filter. Moves, Gunk Shot, Rapid Spin, Poison Jab, Swagger, Iron Head, High Horsepower, Explosion, Egg Move. Description: its 8 cylinders ignite a gas mixture of toxins and rocky particles to generate energy. The Pokédex detailed Revavrum's stats and abilities. Using a Steel and Poison-type Revavrum to counter Okadoji's Poison Chain, an excellent choice. Dylan observed the Pokémon. This was a standard Revavrum, not one modified by Team Star. The Steel/Poison typing was extremely effective, boasting numerous resistances. However, it still had glaring weaknesses: ground and fire, especially ground with a 4x weakness. However, with the filter ability, ground-type damage is reduced to 3x, which is somewhat acceptable. Revavrum. Rapid Spin. Without hesitation, Nimona gave the command to charge. This Okadoji needed to be dealt with quickly. Focus Punch. Dylan chuckled lightly. In terms of direct combat power, Okadoji was incredibly strong as well. Revavrum's wheels spun at high speed, transforming into a massive silver roller, and it rushed straight at Okadoji. The Steel-type Rapid Spin. This was a signature move of the Revavrum line. Okadoji flashed a savage grin, clenching its right fist, white energy flickering around it. It timed its attack perfectly, swinging a heavy punch toward the incoming Revavrum. Focus Punch. Revavrum. Nimona shouted sharply. Revavrum's rolling body suddenly swerved, making an emergency turn and dodging Okadoji's Focus Punch by a hair. Dylan raised an eyebrow. In the next moment, Revavrum demonstrated exceptional driving skills, making another sharp turn and charging back toward Okadoji. Okadoji snarled and turned around, crossing its arms just as the attack was about to land. Bang! The Rapid Spin crashed heavily into Okadoji, causing it to growl in pain. However, Okadoji was still in good condition. While the Rapid Spin was decently powerful, the damage was manageable. That said, using Rapid Spin caused Revavrum's speed to drop. Zen Headbutt. Using the recoil, Revavrum leaped backward, gathering multicolored energy around its body before charging at Okadoji once again. Okadoji. Okadoji immediately stepped back, trying to evade, but it was a moment too late. One of Revavrum's sharp edges scraped against it. Even though it wasn't a direct hit, the Zen Headbutt still caused significant damage. Okadoji's quadruple weakness to Psychic-type moves was glaring. The power of this Revavrum was extraordinary, and its level was clearly high. Seeing this, Dylan was able to confirm it. High Horsepower.
Nimona immediately followed up to capitalize on the situation. Revavrum was now surrounded by earthy energy as it charged toward Okadoji once more. "You're getting a bit ahead of yourself, Miss Nimona. Okadoji, use close combat." Okadoji roared as it rushed forward to meet the charging Revavrum, throwing a flurry of punches at it. The fighting-type close combat, an all-out attack with no defense. Okadoji's heavy punches rained down on Revavrum, forcibly halting its high horsepower. With a final powerful blow, Okadoji shattered the energy surrounding Revavrum and sent it flying back, groaning in pain. Although Revavrum wasn't weak to fighting types, the damage from close combat was still significant. However, due to the nature of close combat, white light spread across Okadoji's body, reducing both its defense and special defense by one stage. This strength. Nimona frowned immediately upon witnessing the scene. Okadoji's power was overwhelming. Her Revavrum was also known for its high physical attack, yet it was struggling. "High horsepower," Dylan ordered with a faint smile. Okadoji charged at Revavrum with full momentum, cloaked in ground-type energy. "Revavrum, stomping tantrum." Nimona countered quickly. Revavrum raised its front body and slammed it down forcefully, creating a tangible shockwave that spread across the ground. The ground-type stomping tantrum. While not as powerful as Earthquake, it was the best option since Revavrum couldn't learn Earthquake. As Okadoji charged forward, its protective high horsepower energy reduced the damage from stomping tantrum. In turn, Okadoji's own high horsepower slammed into Revavrum, sending it flying. Even with its filter ability reducing the damage, high horsepower was still a 3x super effective hit, causing severe damage to Revavrum. Revavrum was now barely holding on, hanging by a thread. One more high horsepower. Okadoji began another charge, the distance between it and Revavrum closing rapidly. Explosion! The moment was right, and Nimona immediately shouted to her weakened Revavrum. Revavrum's body began to glow brightly, resembling a small sun. "Protect," Dylan clicked his tongue. Though he ordered Okadoji to use Protect, Dylan estimated it was unlikely to work, the two Pokémon were already too close. Okadoji forcibly stopped its charge as a green Protect barrier formed in front of it. Boom! A massive explosion rocked the battlefield, unleashing a powerful shockwave that resembled a storm. Nimona had to duck and shield her face from the blast. The normal-type explosion was an incredibly powerful move. True to its name, it caused a self-destructive blast that damaged all nearby Pokémon. Once used, the user would inevitably faint. As the energy from the explosion dissipated and the dust settled, the battlefield revealed a massive crater. At the bottom, Revavrum was clearly unconscious. Okadoji, however. Huff, huff. Okadoji was gasping heavily, struggling to crawl out of the crater. Its body was battered and bruised, its energy dangerously low. "It's still standing?" Iono was shocked. Nimona was equally surprised. How was this possible? In reality, Okadoji had barely survived. Its Protect wasn't fully executed before the explosion went off, meaning it took almost the full brunt of the blast at close range. Thud! Okadoji felt its body grow heavier and heavier. Finally, its vision went black, and it collapsed, fainting with swirls in its eyes. Okadoji and Revavrum are both unable to battle. Lily declared the result of the match. It was yet another double knockout. After making the announcement, Lily glanced at Nimona. This seemingly bright and upright trainer definitely had her own unique style. She had taken out Dylan Zarbak with Destiny Bond and Okadoji with Explosion. There was definitely something to her approach. "Well done, Miss Nimona," Dylan praised as he recalled Okadoji. After all, Okadoji was a legendary Pokémon with decent combat power. Though it was taken out by Explosion in a double knockout, it had been defeated nonetheless. This might actually be the first time one of his legendary Pokémon had been defeated. Ha! But it's nothing to be proud of, Nimona shook her head. She still preferred winning fair and square in a head-to-head battle. No, you should be proud. Any strategy that falls within the rules is fair game. Dylan smiled as he spoke.
After all, many of his own tactics were often criticized behind his back as dirty, despicable, or shameless. Compared to those, Nemona's explosion was nothing.
Well then, Miss Nemona, here comes my third Pokemon. This one is far more challenging than the previous two. Dylan flipped a luxury ball in his hand and threw it out. Pekarunt, prepare for battle.
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.